My mom, Kate, is super old school about wanting a son. So to please her, I started dressing up as a boy when I was little. But the day before my college entrance exam, she sold me off to some backwoods place because my little brother Henry wanted a gaming console. I ended up taking my own life from all the humiliation but unexpectedly came back to life, and I went completely rogue. Henry tried to make me cook breakfast, so I poured garbage water straight into his mouth. When Mom stood up for him, I gave her a good beating in the middle of the night. The day before the college entrance exam, Mom drugged me again. But this time, it was her precious son Henry who ended up getting sold off. By 4 in the morning, she'd slapped me awake. Get up for work already. How did I end up with such a lazy child? Before, I'd have jumped up and spent 3 hours doing chores, gathering wood, making a fire, feeding the pigs, cooking breakfast, and then going to school on an empty stomach. There are 3 of us at home, my mom, my brother, and me. But when it comes to chores, it's just me. My mom's not just lazy, she's super biased against girls. I've been getting beaten black and blue since I was a kid. The only time I caught a break from the beatings was when I had lice at 7 and had to shave my head. For that 1 month with a buzz cut, I looked enough like Henry that she couldn't bring herself to hit me. From then on, I dressed like a boy to please her, and after puberty, I even wrapped my chest with fabric. Eventually, I almost forgot I was a girl. Despite humbling myself so much, she still didn't see me as human. All it took was Henry wanting a gaming console for her to drug and sell me like livestock. That painful experience from my past life made me jump out of bed right away. I made myself a big bowl of noodles, added a dash of sesame oil, and put in 2 soft-boiled eggs. This was the breakfast Henry used to get sick of, but it was a dream meal for me who usually got stuck with leftovers. After I stuffed myself, I patted my belly with satisfaction and scooped out 2 big bowls of garbage water to place on the dining table. The stench from it was unbearable. I almost threw up my breakfast, but managed to pinch my nose just in time. I was about to sneak out when Henry came down for breakfast. The moment he touched the bowl with his lips, he gagged and started yelling. "Rose, what kind of crap is this? It stinks." "That's your feed," I replied seriously. "Eat up so we can sell you for a good price come New Year." "You lousy girl. Worthless." He tried coming at me, but with his 190-pound frame, he barely made it around the table 5 times before giving up. Taking advantage of his gasping for air, I grabbed the garbage water and forced it down his throat. Gulp, gulp. Henry collapsed from one bowl, dry heaving on the ground. As I lifted the other bowl, I heard a sharp scream. "Rose, what are you doing?" "Uh-oh." Mom woke up. Out of habit, I got on my knees to apologize, but remembering I came back to life, I fell flat on the ground instead. Crawling on all 4s, I slinked away when she wasn't looking, grabbing my backpack to make a break for it. I got to school and found out it was the first mock exam for our senior year. In my past life, I scored the highest in the entire school. In a village where girls are deemed not as valuable, that made me some sort of circus act. By the end of the day, everyone in town knew. Some busybodies started telling my mom that I'd end up leaving for the city if I went to college, saying raising a girl wasn't worth it. Better to marry me off early and get a bride price. That's when she stopped me from having a buzz cut and even asked relatives for girls' clothes. I thought it was my reward for good grades. Turns out, she was plotting to cash me in all along. Thinking about it, I focused on my test but wrote all the correct answers only on the scrap paper. Then on the test, I filled in nonsense. An old granny walks at 6,890 kilometers per second. There are 8 people left on the bus, and if you bank $10,000 now, you'll have over $1 billion after a year. I was chuckling away as I wrote, making my desk mate Linda keep staring at me. When the test was over, I folded my scrap paper tightly. Linda handed me half a bun. "Are you out of it from hunger? Here, eat this." In my past life, I often fainted from low blood sugar. Linda, feeling bad for me, would give me food. Her family wasn't too bad to her. She at least always had enough to eat and wear. But she was fed the idea that studying was useless, so she never cared much for it and always scored last in the class. Later on, her parents used that as an excuse to pull her out of school, marrying her off to an old man. Not a month into the marriage, her husband accidentally killed her. When I heard the news at school, I skipped class for the first time. Seeing that small pile of dirt finally made it sink in, Linda was really gone. "Don't cry, it won't hurt once you've eaten." Linda clumsily wiped my tears and tried to shove the bun in my mouth. I touched my face, finally realizing I was crying. I grabbed her hand. Linda, do you trust me? Talking about being reborn is just too far-fetched, so I spun it as something I dreamed and made her ending sound much more tragic. Linda turned ghostly pale, clinging tightly to my arm. Rose, what do I do? From today, hit those books hard. From now on, I'm your savior. Okay. As someone who just became a savior, I got home and received a slap across the face from my mom. You filthy girl, why do you feed Henry garbage water in the morning? Stay out of this if you want to stay alive. Otherwise, you'll be the next John Doe, I said, twirling my finger mysteriously in front of her face. But she wasn't buying it. She picked up a feather duster and started hitting me, cursing away. You worthless thing. I should have drowned you when you were in the trash bucket. Henry didn't eat all day because of you. If anything happens to him, I swear I'll kill you. Now go kneel and knock 3 times at Henry's feet, or no food for you this week. I tried dodging her swings, but being skinny, I had nowhere to escape. So I stopped running. I crawled in the shadows, twisting, wriggling, screaming, and howling. What does a pig eat if not mush, huh? Tell me, what else does a pig eat? I grabbed her ankle, shaking it with all my might. She backed up in fear. With a backflip, I stood up, covered my mouth, and whispered into her ear. Let me tell you a secret. Your son, he's actually a pig. Then I took off, running around the house, shouting and howling in madness. People are born of people, pigs are born of pigs. If you give birth to someone, you're also a pig. So if you give birth to me, does that make me a pig too? After saying that, I started mimicking pig sounds, getting more into it and louder as I went. Alright, since you're a pig, why don't you try some slop? She grabbed my head and shoved it into the slop bucket, but surprisingly, I didn't resist. My mom watched me without reacting for a while. Thinking something was wrong, she leaned in to check, and I took the chance to puke the slop right into her mouth. Henry, who'd been feeling queasy all day, got up from bed and saw this shocking scene. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. My mom locked me in my room with no dinner. I got so hungry in the middle of the night, I climbed out the window to find food. Turned the whole place upside down, but found nothing to eat. Except for some pastries on the offering table, probably left because Mom thought I wouldn't dare touch them. But why would I be scared, having lived through this once already? After finishing the offerings, I changed into black clothes and sneaked into my mom's room, starting to climb her wall. By the time she woke up from the noise, I was already halfway up. It was too dark to see clearly. She turned on the light and was startled by a shadow on the wall. I kept quiet. When she finally approached to check, I jumped in front of her and slapped her hard. Kate, you really aren't human. Once she saw it was me, she started shouting, covering her face. Rose, what are you doing up at this hour? Do you want me to kill you? I slapped her again. Kate, look closely at who I am. I'm your mom. I started mimicking my grandma's hunchback and crooked mouth. Mom? When Kate called me mom, I knew she was almost convinced. She feared my grandma the most in her earlier years. For 2 years after I was born, my mom got beaten up daily until my brother was born, which eased things a bit. Seizing the moment while mom was stunned, I slapped her again. Watching her symmetrical face felt oddly satisfying. You disgusting lowlife, today I'm going to teach you a lesson. I was readying for another swipe when mom suddenly knelt down, admitting her fault. Unexpected bonus? I tried to mimic grandma's expression, glaring at her sideways until she spilled everything, crying her eyes out. Turns out after Dad's accident, there was hefty compensation. Enough for us to live well and get my brother a bride. But my mom used it to build a house for my uncle. The irony? He wouldn't let her stay because he thought having a widow around was bad luck. That's why in my past life, I was sold off to the mountains and suffered greatly. If you don't have money, earn it. Work the fields, carry dung. If that's not enough, marry the old man down the road for dowry money. Don't you dare mistreat Rose. Oops, I slipped. Grandma would never care if I lived. If she knew Mom sold me, she'd probably scold her for selling so cheap. Seeing the confusion in Mom's eyes, I steadied myself and continued mumbling, if you dare mistreat Henry and Rose again, I'll come back for you. Then I tilted my head, closed my eyes, and pretended to faint, my mom stepping back in fear. The ground was so cold. After 10 minutes of lying there and seeing she still wasn't approaching, I turned, crawled to the door, murmuring, "Grandma, I miss you. Kate the jerk won't feed me, I'm seeing great-grandma soon." Finally reaching the door, I jumped up and sprinted back to my room, leaving Mom bewildered. Next morning, I was woken by the smell of chicken soup. The last time I had chicken was on my 10th birthday. Mom gave me a measly chicken neck out of pity. Having never tasted chicken before, it took me 3 days to finish, gnawing even the bones to pieces. "Rose, come get some chicken soup." Mom's call pulled me from memories. Thought I hallucinated hearing that since pretending to be possessed, yet the kitchen had 2 big bowls. One with chicken legs and wings, another with the whole chicken. "Rose, this is yours." Mom eagerly sat me down, pushing a bowl with the chicken's backside towards me, even setting my chopsticks nicely. My heart skipped a beat, thinking about possibly being sold early this time. In my past, just before the college entrance exam, she treated me kindly too, only to drug my food. Waking up, I was tied to a bed, and a sleazy guy with yellow teeth was trying to undress. I thought I'd been sold as a bride to the man, but Mom actually sold me to 3 brothers. Some poor families can't get brides for each son, so sometimes they share. This kind of deal is so dirty, even traffickers avoid it, but Mom agreed for an extra $5,000. "Rose, hurry up and eat." Mom's urging voice snapped me back, her eyes nervously on me, probably scared by my previous wrathful glare. I stayed silent for safety, grabbed the other bowl, started eating, and found the chicken's drumsticks and wings were there. This woman doesn't even try to hide her favoritism when trying to win me over. "That's for your brother." Mom tried stopping me as I devoured the food. I glanced at her but said nothing, mimicking the sparrows outside. She bit back her words, watching me shamelessly finishes what was meant for her precious son. After I was done, she didn't send me to wash the dishes as usual, but instead offered to make it for me often. I let out a loud burp and said, "Hope you remember that fart today." With that, I calmly grabbed my bag and left, but my body was trembling, fearing a kick from behind. The experiences from my past life had conditioned these reflexes into me. When I got to school, Linda was already studying. Seeing me come in, she waved excitedly, chattering away before I could even sit down. "Rose, you're amazing. My dad really asked me to drop out yesterday, but I refused." I woke up in the middle of the night and overheard my dad discussing with my mom. They were talking about that old man at the village entrance willing to pay $30,000 to marry me, and they wanted to use the money to build a house for my brother to get married. "Did they just leave you alone when you disagreed?" I asked worriedly, scared that Linda might end up like me in my last life, drugged and married off. Linda, blushing, responded quietly. "After a while, I promised them that if I don't get into college, I'd follow Jane to make money." "You're crazy." I almost shouted. Jane is a notorious figure around here. Rumor has it she runs a business that exploits girls, and every year a lot of girls go to her for money. "Rose." Linda looked at me with tears in her eyes. "You have to help me." "All right. Let's study till the pages tear apart." Just as we encouraged each other, someone sneered at the door. "Why do girls need to study? Better go home and get married soon." The speaker was Matt. In our previous lives, Linda and I were often bullied by him. He was spoiled by the patriarchal mentality, and he had a foul mouth and a bad heart. In my previous life, I never fought back, because if it escalated and parents got involved, Kate would never take my side. She'd just find me troublesome, and I might even get beaten when we got home. But I've been reborn. Can I still be bullied by Matt? "Matt, are you having diarrhea lately?" Matt looked confused by my question, and I continued, "I suspect you've shit your brains out. Asking us to get married? What, are you lacking a mom?" Linda chimed in with perfect timing, shaking her head. No, I don't want such a dumb son, always coming in last in class." Matt was furious, rolling up his sleeves to hit us. I grabbed Linda and ran, shouting as we went, "Son's hitting his mom. Everyone, come see. Is this the downfall of humanity or the loss of morality?" As he almost caught up, I quickly pushed Linda to the side and dove onto the ground. "Rose, are you kneeling to apologize?" I climbed and crawled while cursing Matt's ancestors under my breath. He chased, I crawled, he grabbed, I rolled. When he tried to kick me, I pulled his leg hair. As he howled in pain, I jumped up, grabbed the curtains, and started imitating a monkey's call. By the time the teacher arrived, I was in the midst of strangling Matt with the curtains, and he was almost passing out. My clash with Matt ended with a call to my parent. Kate arrived at school just when the first mock exam results came out. I ranked second to last, with Matt in last place. See? I told you he shit out his brains, I didn't even try, and still scored better. The teachers were disappointed in my performance. In their eyes, I had the potential for top universities. Their anxiety reminded me of the teacher's words in my last life before the college exams. Rose, this is your one chance to change your fate. Make sure to seize it. But don't stress too much, as long as you perform normally, you'll get into a top school for sure. She never liked calling me by my first name because it didn't sound good, always called me Rose in private, and took care of me in studies and life. I couldn't imagine how she would cry if she heard of my death. The teacher knew my mom's nature and hoped to take this chance to help persuade her. Maybe in this life, I should seek her help. On the way home, Mom uncharacteristically didn't scold me, just kept hesitating. In my past life, even for a normal parent-teacher meeting, she would call me a troublemaker for wasting her time. At home, she shockingly brought out a small bowl of greasy braised pork with 7 or 8 pieces, offering it to me with a pleased look, eat quickly before your brother comes back. She probably feared last night's incident would get exposed, hence this sudden act of kindness, so I picked up my chopsticks and dug in. Delicious. In 2 lifetimes, I never had braised pork before. When Henry returned, the dish was already gone. I was left shaking my legs while eating rice soaked in the sauce. He glanced at the empty bowl and then at my oily mouth. The last meal's swill made him wary of me, so he vented his anger on Kate. He turned around and kicked her in the waist, yelling for her to bring out more braised pork. Kate dared not revolt. Holding her injured side with one hand and supporting herself with the other, she wobbled to the stove and brought out a mountain of braised pork. Since childhood, Henry was taught by our grandmother, he never showed kindness to my mom, and violence was common when he was in a bad mood. In my past life, I felt sorry for her. Sometimes when I saw Henry hitting her, I'd try to help, but I'd always get scolded afterward, ungrateful brat. You don't understand. Your brother's temper is good, he won't get bullied in the future, unlike you, you worthless thing, if she likes being mistreated, then I'll help her. I stood up slowly, patted my full belly, and casually said that braised chicken was delicious. Henry instantly stood up, glared at Kate, as if he'd skin her alive if she didn't bring out some turtle soup. Henry, don't listen to that girl's nonsense. She only had a few pieces of fatty meat. I saved the good stuff for you. Ignoring her, I hiccuped and walked away as Henry's roars mixed with her pleas for mercy filled the room. I shut my door and happily started studying amidst the chaos. Later, half joking about how pigs can't appreciate fine grain, I left the bathroom pulling up my pants. Maybe I overdid it today, my stomach protested, having never tasted such richness, and I ended up in the bathroom 5 times within an hour. Feeling weak, I intended to drink some water, only to see my mom, bruised and battered, bringing a large bowl into my brother's room. Did she really buy a turtle? Those don't come cheap. Where did she get the money? I squatted by the door, eavesdropping. Henry, don't be mad at Mom. She made turtle soup for you as an apology. Really, that wretched girl was lying. Think about it, when have I ever deprived you all these years, so, why did you give her the braised pork today? She's just a worthless girl. Does she deserve it? Henry grumbled while stuffing his face. Today, an old guy at the village entrance asked someone to arrange a marriage. He wants to marry that girl, Rose. He said he could offer a dowry of 30,000 yuan. Plus, to show his sincerity, he already gave me a down payment of 2,000 yuan today. The guy who beat 2 wives to death? Yeah, but he said those were accidents. If Rose goes, she might not be beaten to death. Kate quickly explained, worried Henry might disagree. Henry slowly spat out a bone, shoved another piece of meat into his mouth, and finally said, once we get the money, who cares if she lives or dies? Go set it up, I'm sick of seeing her. I stood outside the door, feeling ice cold, clenching my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms, and I didn't even notice. I thought I'd saved Linda from marrying the old guy, but it turns out it's now my turn. I figured any life changes would come before the college entrance exams, so I wasn't ready for this sudden twist. It took me by surprise. I tossed and turned all night without a wink of sleep. The next day was the weekend, no school. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a cleaver, tucked it into my waistband, and covered it with my oversized school uniform. Still uneasy, I stuffed 2 bricks into my backpack before heading out. In less than 15 minutes, I reached the old guy's place at the village entrance. Just my luck, he was heading out with a hoe. Seeing the hoe, I felt a wave of fear. Trembling, I said, "Hi, Dad." The old guy looked at me, confused. Then he realized I was supposed to be his bride and got all shy, saying, "You young people nowadays really go all out, huh?" Now it was my turn to be confused. At least I could see he wasn't going to hurt me. Makes sense, most wife-beaters act all charming to outsiders. They only hit their wives because, in their minds, wives belong to them, like beating up a dog. I'm here to propose on behalf of my mom. I ignored his words and kept talking. I know you proposed, and gave my mom 2,000 yuan. But she worried all night and decided I should tell you the truth. I can't have kids. Hearing that, he dropped his hoe in shock. We're from the same village, you might have seen me acting like a boy before. I pretended to wipe away tears that weren't there, because I've known since I was little that I'm different from other girls. I've dressed like a boy for years, and everyone in the village knows it. He believed me and began asking anxiously about his deposit. So today I'm here to propose for my mom instead. Dad, marry my mom. She's 3 years older, a good omen for marriage. Plus, she can have kids, and she's good at having sons. When he heard about sons, his eyes lit up. Seeing he didn't argue, I continued spinning my tale on my mom's reserved, but she's liked you for ages. Why else would she take your 2,000 yuan? If you don't believe me, why not visit our place? See if she's willing to give it back. As the sleazy grin spread across his thin face, I knew it worked. I'll go meet her with you, then. The old guy went back inside, stashed his hoe, changed into nicer clothes, even shaved, and picked up half a winter melon to bring with us. On the way back, I kept calling him Dad, and he responded cheerfully. Almost home, I slowed down. The old man asked what was up, and I hesitated. I have a little brother, right? He doesn't agree with this marriage. My mom spoils him, so if she says she doesn't want it, she's faking. Remember, as long as she doesn't return your deposit, she's okay with it. He nodded in understanding. I hurried ahead and pushed open our courtyard gate. The sun was shining, and Kate was washing Henry's hair. The nauseating scene of a mother and son bonding was laid bare before the old man. Seeing him, my mom quickly stopped scrubbing and forced a grin. For her, this was a golden goose. To him, it confirmed her secret crush. Kate, you can't give your son baths anymore. I don't like it. He opened with a dad-style comment. Naturally, Henry wasn't happy. You old geezer, barking like a dog. Henry stood up, looking like a plucked sow, you brat. Is that any way to talk to your dad? Not just shocked were my mom and my brother, I was taken aback, too. This old guy got into character fast. Soon, they were rolling around fighting. I pretended to break them up, sneaking in a few kicks and slaps for fun. While they fought like dogs, I slipped out with my backpack. When I returned that evening, the courtyard was a mess, with cries echoing from inside. Entering, I found my mom tending to my brother's injuries. His eye was swollen, his mouth bruised, and his back clearly hurt. My mom carefully applied ointment with a cotton swab, wincing each time Henry retaliated with a smack. Seeing me, Kate, who had just been meek and humble, whizzed over to slap me hard, cursing, "You wretched girl. Was it you who set me up with that old coot?" I shook my head vehemently. He said he liked you and wanted to marry you. Who knows how you two hooked up silently. Hearing this, my brother kicked Kate in anger, knocking her down. You shameless woman. Said you were finding a match for my sister, but you were just throwing yourself at him. Kate struggled on the ground for a good while but couldn't get up, so she just sat there and started wailing. Oh, I'm so wronged, Henry. You know that old man already killed 2 wives? How could I put myself in that pit of fire? Oh, my life is so miserable. Realizing she had slipped up, my mom switched topics quickly, pretending to wipe away tears while sneaking glances at my reaction. Henry didn't care about that. He was already pissed off after getting hit today. He pointed at me, yelling at Kate, "I don't care. Get rid of this money-draining brat and get the dowry back so I can buy some turtles to eat." All right, we'll buy them," Kate quickly reassured, struggling to get up from the bed as Henry fumed. I snorted quietly, turned around, and headed to the kitchen. When I came back, I had a kitchen knife and sharpening stone in hand. The two of them looked at me with terror as I sharpened the knife, not daring to breathe loudly. I didn't say a word, just kept sharpening and smirking. Soon after, I figured it was sharp enough, then casually plucked a few strands of hair from Kate's head and placed them on the blade. The hair strands instantly split in half. Good, good, I muttered, admiring the reflective blade, leaning in to listen somewhat theatrically, then spoke in a chilling voice, "Knife, what did you say?" "Oh, you want to taste blood?" I then started showing off a self-made knife routine. "Rose, are you crazy? Put down that knife," Henry shouted, baring his teeth, using Kate as a shield. It was the only reason he dared speak. I ignored his yells, clutching the knife like a baby. "Knife," I said sweetly, "let's stay together from now on, all right? If anyone dares to hurt me, remember to help me, okay?" Neither of them said anything. I couldn't tell if they were scared. Going all in, I grabbed a chicken from the coop, slaughtered it in front of them, splattering blood all over their horrified faces. Marrying the old man would be the death of me anyway. I don't mind sending you two to test the waters first. Seeing the fear on their pale faces, I left, satisfied, holding the knife. Once I was far enough, my brother's angry swearing and my mom's cries drifted out. After the knife incident, I've kept it with me. Maybe because of this, Kate and Henry have been more restrained. I arranged with my teacher to stay at her dorm in a few days. It's to focus on the exams and prevent the same doomed fate from my past life. That old man seems to have real feelings for Mom, showing up at our house regularly. If Henry's home, they always end up fighting. One night, as I'm walking home from night class, I keep hearing rustling noises behind me, but no one is there when I look back. Unfazed, I sweep my hair to cover my face, then quickly drop down and crawl fast on all fours. What the hell is this? It was the old man's voice. Since I caught him, he didn't bother hiding anymore, stepping out from behind a big tree, the dim moonlight highlighting his ghostly face. I swung my backpack in front of me, standing up cautiously, gripping the knife's handle tightly. "Why are you following me? Your mom hasn't been nice to me lately. Has she changed her mind?" I quickly denied it, assuring him my mom constantly thinks about him, but my brother's resistance is strong. It seemed to work. His clenched fists told me he was getting angrier. I added fuel to the fire. "As long as my brother's around, it'll be tough for you and my mom to be together." The old man silently left with a grim face. Watching him go, a plan formed in my mind. The day before college entrance exams, I insisted on going home despite my teacher's protests. She reluctantly agreed, handing me a cell phone, urging, "Rose, if anything happens, call my dorm or my boyfriend who's a cop." I nodded sincerely. Linda, hearing I was going home, clung to my arm, tears in her eyes before she even spoke. I reassured her, promising we'd pass and go to college together. She reluctantly let go. Some matters can't be resolved directly. Even if I pass the exam this time, I might never step into a university if I don't deal with them. Before going in, I checked my pockets, feeling reassured as I stepped into the house. Kate, as before, made fish soup. Last life, she said it could bring me success, but it led me to a disastrous path. "You eat first, wait for your brother to come home," she said, using the same sickening lines. I've been thinking, if, in this life, she chooses not to harm me, would I still seek revenge? It seems the answer, evasive before, was now clear. "Mom, there's a bug on you," I said. Kate feared bugs most. In her panic, I flung a large green worm onto her face. Green juice splattered, some landing in her eyes and mouth. She rushed to the courtyard to spit, forgetting to curse me. I sneakily took a bowl of the large portion of fish soup my mom left on the stove, then poured my own bowl back in. Just in case, I hid the empty bowl. After I set everything up, Kate stormed back in. Seeing me leisurely enjoying fish soup made her swallow all the angry words she had. After eating, I glanced back at the fish soup on the stove. I wasn't worried at all about that soup being able to knock out those two. I remembered how just a small bowl had knocked me out for 2 whole days in my past life. After drinking, I went back to my room. About half an hour later, I came out and found Kate and Henry slumped over the table, not moving. I sent a signal outside, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw the old man slip in. I snuck out through the back door, walking at first, then picking up the pace until I was running. The next morning, when my teacher and Linda saw me at the test center right on time, they both sighed in relief. I cleared my mind of all distractions and calmly focused on finishing the 3-day exam. Once it was over, I called the police. My brother Henry, under the old man's maneuvering, had already been sold on the black market. Even if they found him, he probably wouldn't be whole again. And my mom, Kate, was taken home by the old man and tortured for 3 days until she was unrecognizable. After finding out my brother had been trafficked, she went completely insane. When the police arrived, she had her teeth sunk into the old man's neck and wouldn't let go. When the college entrance exam results were out, Linda and I were too scared to open our eyes. Our teacher jokingly scolded us while checking for us. Linda's score was over 10 points higher than past years, and when the teacher saw my score, she started crying. I heard a massive roar in my ears. Did I not do well? Linda, knowing her score, wasn't scared anymore and quickly took a look. Third in the whole province. Rose, you're amazing, the three of us hugged, first laughing and then crying as we laughed. The day I got the offer from Cambridge University, I took my few belongings and headed to the UK, ready to work for tuition fees. From then on, no one would bully Rose and Linda. Now, they're confident and strong. Every time Linda comes home, she brings the latest news. The old man got a death sentence, Kate was sentenced to 5 years for attempted trafficking and became completely deranged after release, running naked around the village, while Henry is still missing. I just smiled when I heard this. Those belong to the past, now far, far behind me. My future is just beginning.